Good evening, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of Quality Week 2022, organized by the Colombo Quality Camp and sponsored by our strategic partner, 99X. As always, the Colombo Quality Camp aims to bring in industry experts to share their personal views, thoughts, and experiences on topics relating to quality that are vital in the IT industry. And so we have two amazing sessions lined up for you today by two incredible individuals here to enrich and enhance your knowledge and experience. Now, as eager as we all are to get on with the sessions, let me remind you that you can type in your questions to our speakers in the chat, and our speakers will be answering them at the end of each session. Also, we humbly request you to spare some time on the survey that will be mailed to you at the end of today's sessions. Now, with that in mind, let me introduce our first speaker for the day. He is an all-round tech enthusiast working as an agile business analyst on small to large-scale projects in the IT industry. His expertise ranges from requirement gathering to client management, project management, and gap analysis, and has been identified as possessing leadership qualities and problem-solving skills within the organizations he has been a part of. He is none other than Sachith Perera, technical project manager at Ascentic, here to speak on the quality approach for MVP development. Over to you, Sachith.
Thanks a lot, Derek. Thanks for the great introduction, and good evening to you all. It's great to be here. So let me start by sharing my screen. Is it possible to see my screen?
Yes, Sachith.
All right. Yeah, so good evening again. Thanks for being here, and we are going to have a great discussion, and I'm going to share some experience I have building MVP products, and we are going to look at how quality assurance intertwines with the MVP product development. All right, the topic for today's talk is quality approach for MVP development, and I'm going to be talking to you about how I approach the quality aspect in the MVP products that I develop at my current company. To give you a little bit of introduction about myself, my name is Sachith Perera, and I have around 6+ years of industry experience in the IT industry. And currently, I am working as a technical project manager at Ascentic. First of all, you may have seen in the title that it talks a bit about MVP. But what is this MVP? Some of you may already know about it, but for the purpose of everyone, I'm going to walk you through what it is. MVP, as you may or may not know, is short for minimum viable product, and it is a bare minimum version of an actual product that you are going to develop. The actual definition of MVP is defined as a version of a new product which allows a team to collect the maximum amount of validated learning about customers with the least effort. There are many examples of great MVPs and great examples that you can find online about MVP products. For example, there are many groundbreaking and very popular products that are currently out there, which started out as just a contact form. So MVP is a great way for entrepreneurs and teams to find out whether your idea is actually valid and whether investing in that idea and building on top of that idea is great, is worth it. And also what sort of user experience and necessities that you should do in order for the product to be delivered to the customers. So generally, when you think about MVP, I think the main picture that comes to your mind is probably something that's shown on the top. So in here, you can see that if you think the person or the picture of the individual there, if you think about that from a customer's perspective, as you can see in the picture, in the 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, until the 4th step, the customer is unhappy. So the customer actually should get the MVP product delivered to them in an iterative process, like the one below that picture, where initially there are certain pain points and problems that the customer is facing. And in order to overcome those problems, the product is developed in various stages. As you can see, first it's a skateboard, and second it's a sort of a skateboard with a handle, and then there's a bicycle, motorcycle, and a car. So from the point where it's just a concept to the point where it's a final product, the customer should be happy in that entire process. When we talk about MVP, we have developed a number of MVPs in Ascentic. One of the projects that I'm currently working on and also worked on by developing from the scratch is Moya. This is an internal product that is built by Ascentic in order for the employees and workforce to interact with each other. As you can see in the example screenshots that I have shared in this presentation, there are various kind of challenges, and the ascenders who are participating to them can interact with each other with some social features and a couple of other cool features like leaderboards likewise. So what is Moya? Moya is the application that I'm going to help walk through about the entire MVP approach and the various types of approaches that we have used within the Moya project in order to achieve a quality product at the end. So I think it's very crucial that you know about Moya a little bit in a brief introduction. So if we think about Moya, it's a mobile application project with a unique scope. The idea about unique scope is kind of important, as we will deep dive on it later on. When it comes to Moya, it is designed to build team spirit, one challenge at a time. So that's the type of approach and marketing that we are doing for the product. If we talk about the entirety of the application, it is a social collaboration platform for both individuals, that means you and I, and also for organizations to achieve goals through interactive challenges. So that's a brief introduction about Moya. When it comes to Moya, there are a couple of approaches that we have tried out. One is called shift left testing. I think most of you are familiar with it. So let me walk you through how we use shift left testing in the Moya application. As you may or may not know, shift left testing is testing towards the early stages of the software development. So we are testing the product in the very early stages as early as possible. By testing early and often, a product can reduce the number of bugs and increase the quality of the code. Goal is to find any critical bugs during the deployment phase that require code patching. If you engage the development team at a very early stage, I think that would be greatly beneficial, as we have seen in Moya. If you look at this chart, you can see that at the very early stages, which means the architectural defining stages and the requirement stages, the relevant cost to fix bugs is relatively low. It's at the lowest. It's also relatively a little bit high when it comes to the coding stage. And when it comes to the next couple of stages, that is after you code, you integrate the code and also do component testing and do system acceptance testing, you can see that it's on the inclining trend. When you actually think about releasing the product to the market into the production environment and thinking of fixing bugs there, the cost is really high. The cost may not just be financial aspect, it can also be the time and effort that the team has to spend. The problems that the QA team in Moya faced before shift left testing was that the QA team wasn't aware of the product till it was ready to test, which was a huge problem because the QA team didn't have an idea what the product was. Earlier on in the presentation, I mentioned that this is a unique product. So since there are no other products to compare with, this was an exceptionally high problem. The other point is critical bugs were identified very close to the launch, which makes it difficult for us to launch the product as well as gain the critical feedback that we need. That is very important because as MVPs, when you launch it to the market, you need to gain that critical feedback from the actual market, because that's the same type of feedback that you'll be using to improve your product in the next couple of releases. There was another option which I talked about a little while ago, that is unavailability of similar apps to benchmark, where Moya application didn't have any competitors or any other applications that we could compare ourselves to, so that we can benchmark ourselves and say that this is the quality standard that we should set. So this was another challenge that we faced before introducing shift left testing. During the shift left testing in the Moya application development, we involved the entire QA team as early as possible. When they provided great feedback from the QA team at the very early stages, which is design and requirement grooming stages, they were able to give us much better perspective and help us look at very interesting areas that we haven't even thought about. After implementing shift left testing in Moya, the QA team actively participates in product development with valuable input. They work as an active part in the entire product development team. And also what we were very happy with was that we didn't have any major flow breaking bugs identified after launch. Of course, there were few bugs as expected with any production release, but when we tried this approach, we found that we didn't have any critical or flow breaking bugs after launch, which was a huge achievement for the entire team. Now I have talked about shift left testing in the Moya project. Now let's talk about another approach that we have tried in developing Moya. The next approach that we have tried out is automated release notes, which may be something that you already may be using. So before using automated release notes, the problems that we faced was that the QA team, it was difficult for them to identify the work items associated with the release. Meaning with every release, they were unsure about what are the user stories, what are the bugs, and what are the other relevant work items that went with that particular release. So there was constantly going back and forth between the developers and the QA team in order to identify what are the areas that they should test. And as a result, developers had to spend extra time to identify work items that were in a release. While doing the automated release notes in Moya, it was very easy for us to integrate generated release notes shared with QA after each release because we can instantly generate them, meaning once we do a deployment, the related release note is automatically generated after the release. In the release note, it included release details along with the associated work items. And also we were able to customize the release notes that matches the particular requirement. It was customizable using YAML file. So we were able to introduce many different supported fields from Azure DevOps, which we can directly integrate into each release note. After the release, automated release notes were used in Moya, the QA team was very happy and they were very much aware about the associated work items after each release. And the entire team saved a lot of time by not having to refer for the related work items. As a project manager and a product owner and a business analyst, this was a great achievement from my end. To see that the team is saving time and also in return making the life of the teammates very easy. So when it comes to Moya, since it's a MVP, what we did was we are using currently something called crowd testing. So in Moya application, first, initially, we are launching an alpha version, which is currently being used in the company by the Ascenders as a way of crowd testing and seeing the application, how it is and what should change. Before implementing crowd testing, product testing scope was limited and it was a bit time consuming. And also device coverage was limited because the number of devices that are used by the QA team and the rest of the team members are a little bit limited. So UX issues were difficult to identify because the team, over the time, the team has built sort of familiarized with the application. So it was difficult for them to identify many UX issues. When we were crowd testing, as I mentioned before, we are currently crowd testing an internal version of the Moya application with the participation of the colleagues at Ascentic. After crowd testing, we were able to cover the entire application's testing in a very short period of time. And we were able to find a lot of bugs that we weren't able to find if we didn't use crowd testing. And the great thing about this is the end user, we are treating the users as end users. So the value that we get from the bugs that were reported from these end users are really worthwhile because then we can use them to plan the next versions that we are going to release. Since there were multiple group of people that are participating for crowd testing, the device coverage is quite considerable, and also this helped us prioritize the developments for the next versions. Just a quick recap, we have gone through some areas, so I want to quickly recap what we just discussed. In the Moya application, as a product manager and a product owner, using shift-left testing helped reduce the bugs of the product. And also automated release notes made it easy to validate developed work items in a release for the QA team. And crowd testing made it easy to cover a large testing scope within a very short period of time. that's in a nutshell what this presentation was about. You can get in touch with me if you want to discuss more about product development. I'm very keen on talking about this topic. So you can get in touch with me anytime using my LinkedIn. If you have any questions, I would like to discuss them with you right now.
Yeah, thank you, Sachith, for that informative discussion. So as Sachith mentioned, we will now begin the Q&A session. So if you already haven't typed in your questions, please do so in the chat. And I'm sure Sachith will be more than happy to answer them. So Sachith, over to you again. Yeah, I guess there are a couple of questions. Yeah.
Yes. So there is one question. The first question which came was, how did you manage project deadline with shift left testing? Actually, that's a great question because when it comes to shift left testing, what happened was now when it comes to the project deadline, we had a set date that we were supposed to deliver the product on. But what we were doing is we incorporated into the project plan that we were going to incorporate shift left testing into our entire product. So I was able to negotiate with the stakeholders by showing them the benefits, actually what we could derive out of using shift left testing at a very early stage. And I was able to get that approval, and we were able to incorporate that shift left testing to the project deadline. So when the shift left testing, the other aspect, I think the question that ND might be asking is about how the deadline was managed. So in the very early stages, which is the requirement stage and the development stage, we were actually going in parallel with the QAs involved. So all the necessary requirement grooming sessions, the QA was involved. So it was more of a parallel work that we did together. I hope I answered that question. The next one was what the other challenges of crowd testing? How did you manage bug fixes while several parties kept involved with crowd testing? Yeah, so in crowd testing, which we are doing right now, what we are doing right now is we are gathering all the bugs that were known, which were reported, and previously we had come up with some sort of a prioritization matrix. So according to the prioritization matrix, there were mission critical bugs that we identified that we previously agreed upon are considered mission critical. Those type of bugs, we prioritize and fix them, release them as patches. But rest of it, we will be collecting in our backlog, and we will be at the end of the crowd testing rounds. What we will be doing is we will be evaluating those bugs and prioritizing them accordingly with the stakeholders. I would like to go to the next question, which is when we are working with the middle of the project, can we move on to shift left testing? Actually, at the middle of, as you saw in my presentation, the earlier you can involve shift left testing, the better, but doesn't mean you can actually incorporate that in the middle of the project. But you also have to think about the cost component there as well, because the earlier you incorporate shift left testing, the more beneficial it is for you. To answer your question, you can incorporate it in middle as well. Can I know the link between crowd testing and MVP? Yeah. So what happened is MVP is a minimum viable product. So the crucial component of a MVP is that we have some sort of feedback that we should get from the end users. So crowd testing is a technique that we use to identify what are those exact customer needs and wants that we should clarify, and also what sort of areas that we should focus on the next versions of the application when we are releasing. Next question is, did you guys focus on particular reports to manage QA tasks? Actually, we didn't use any term, any particular reports to manage QA tasks, but if the question is related to reporting QA bugs, we used an internally built application where the customers, the users can directly report the bugs, and we can add them to the backlog and prioritize accordingly. Have you done any measurements? If so, what are the measurements? Actually, I'm not sure what the question actually means, so I will skip that one. What are the external parties you use for crowd testing? Yeah, that's a good question. So in terms of this exact particular product that we have developed, the crowd testing, we actually use the Ascenders, and also there are a couple of external people, like, because this is a challenging application where it's to do with various types of fitness challenges and things like that. We use a couple of end customers that we are going to target this in the future. So those are the type of external parties that we used in this crowd testing, and also with our beloved HRT at Ascentic. I think I have answered all the questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me after this session as well.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sachith, once again for the amazing session, as well as for responding to the questions that were being asked. And honestly, I love this audience over here because they are making this session more interactive by posting their questions. So thank you so much for that. And before we move on to our next session, we would like to encourage you to join in the upcoming sessions over the course of the next few days as well, as we guarantee that each session will add some value to your experiences and help you excel and succeed in your careers. Also, I would like to remind you once again to spare some of your precious time in filling the survey that will be mailed to you at the end of today's sessions, as this will help us improve our sessions further and also help us provide you with a better experience. Having cleared that, next up, we have another amazing industry expert. So she is an individual with over 10 years of experience in the IT industry. Her expertise covers manual testing, test automation, handling client requirements, but most importantly, implementing strategies for quality management processes. She is Gimhani Perera, Associate Quality Assurance Engineering Lead from Gapstars, here to enlighten you on the topic, an in-depth guide on usability testing. Over to you, Gimhani.
Thank you so much, Dhiren, for the wonderful introduction. So let me share my screen. So can you all see my screen now?
Yes, Gimhani.
Okay, so let's start then. So today's session is about in-depth guide on usability testing. So let's check the agenda for today first, what we will be discussing today basically. So first topic is what is usability testing? So basically to give you all a high level idea about usability testing. And next one is why do we need usability testing? So basically the importance of it. Next topic is what do we need to cover from usability testing test cases? So basically, if you all are creating some usability testing test cases, or maybe you all are creating some usability test reports, what are the things you need to cover will be covered under this topic. Next one is advantages and disadvantages of usability testing. And finally, we will be discussing about some usability testing test tools which we can use to ease our work. So let's start out then. So what is usability testing? So in the audience, anyone knows about it? Any interesting ideas? I would like to hear. Okay, so I can see utter silence. So I will be telling you all. Usability testing, actually also known as user experience testing as well. It is a testing method for measuring how easy and how user-friendly a software application is. So I have added the technical definition here for you guys. It is a technique used in user-centered interaction design to evaluate a product by testing it on real-time users. So basically, from simpler words, it means that it mainly focuses on users' ease of using the application. And it is a non-functional type of software testing. So why? Because it usually studies the thinking patterns of the real-time users, how they're going to use the product, and to understand their user experience. Because of that, it is a non-functional type. Next one is it involves improvement in the product according to user experience. So since it involves observing users as they attempt to complete real-time tasks, we can add improvements after analyzing their actual user experience. So that's how it involves improvements in the product. So let's check what do we have in our next slide. Okay. So basically why we need it, the importance of it, right? So in my opinion, actually aesthetics and design are very important because how well a product looks usually determines how well it works, right? That's why we are like selecting a product basically. So there are many software applications, websites, which like miserably failed due to lack of better user experience. So the importance of it basically identifies usability errors in the system early in the development cycle, and also it can save a product from failure, as I have mentioned. So here I have added few questions. So whenever you guys make your applications, you can ask these questions by yourself and see whether you have proper answers to them inside your application, right? So if you can give proper answers to these questions, you can define your application as a user-friendly application. So let's check what is the first question is about. So where do I click next? So whether it's a guest user or maybe a logged in user or registered user, are they having a clear idea like where do they need to click next? Are you all giving that proper answer to your users? Next one is, which page needs to be navigated next? So basically, page navigation should be very clear inside your application. And which icon or jargon represents what? So basically, I have seen this in some websites. When you check on some icons, those are like dragged, blurred, or maybe not very much clear to the user. So this is not a proper user experience, right? And also when it comes to jargon, if you all are using a lot of technical terms inside your website and you're aiming your product at non-technical users as well, those users might be confused, right? So you have to think about your jargon as well when you release your product. And also, next one is error messages and warnings are consistent enough. So I have seen this in some websites actually. One error message is in top of the web page, the other one is at the bottom, and one warning is shown in yellow color, another one in blue color. Not so consistent, right? So we have to have a consistent error message, and also we have to effectively display those. So basically, and in some error messages, I have seen user is getting the error message as just the server error, or maybe a page not found, a 4 not 4. These are not very user-friendly user experiences, right? Because users might get confused what is this error is about. So you have to think about that. Final question is whether the session time is enough to be in your application for a user. So you have to think about these things in usability testing. So from the image I have used here also, it clearly explains why testing for the user experience is also important. So in here you can see, even though the mom and dad are excited about the UI, what is the actual user experience that the baby is getting. So this is why usability testing is very important. Let's see, what do we have next? Okay, so I have stated some real-time examples to show you all how a proper usability test has been happened in these applications. So first one is getting transportation online using Uber. So I'm pretty sure in the audience, most of the people are using this app at least for once, right? To book a cab, book a ride. So they have all these interesting features. Now, for example, booking a ride is very easy using the application, right? And then types of ride. Now, for example, if we are using the application in Sri Lanka, we have the tuk option. But if we go to Amsterdam and try it, then we don't have the tuk option, right? Because they don't have tuks there. So when creating the app and launching it across the globe, they have think about different user scenarios and different countries, different cultures, everything, and launch their product. That's why it is a user-friendly product. So an estimated time of arrival, estimated cost, these are pretty accurate in this application, right? And they have this ride late option. Actually, that is an interesting one to show that they have think out of the box while creating the application to give a proper user experience. So for example, if you want a cab around 4 a.m. in the morning in Sri Lanka, it might be a bit hard to find a cab at that time, right? So they have introduced this ride late option, which you can schedule a ride, and whoever the available driver will pick it up and will be at your doorstep on time. So they have think about all these user scenarios while creating the application. And also share ride option, adding different payment methods. So for example, currently Sri Lanka is going through an economic crisis, right? So they have, I have seen most of the drivers prefer cash option rather than going to the card option these days. So in the application, they have both. Whenever the user want to switch, they can do it. So they have think about those type of things. And also customer support, you can cancel a book ride, you can call or chat the driver and say if the location is changed or something. You have all these features inside this application. So basically, they have think about all the user scenarios for getting transportation online. So that's why, even though there are a lot of other competitors in the market for them, they are still in business. So another example I would like to mention is that the project I'm currently working in, which is a digitalized car repair system. So we operate in most of the countries in European region, United Kingdom, and also in South Africa. So in our case, how we handle usability is we are doing our own research before launching a product to a different country. And also we have some native agents in all of these countries, you know, who clearly understand about the cultural differences, thinking patterns of that country. So whenever we design UIs and usability test cases, we can talk to them and get feedback from them. Also, we can use our research outcomes to give a proper user experience for our users as well. So, for example, what we offer for European region might not be available for South Africa, since for their user base, it is not an important feature. Likewise, we do the changes to our product on usability and sell it as different solutions to different markets. So those are basically some real-time examples to explain how you achieve your usability test goals. Let's check our next slide. Okay, so what you need to cover from usability testing test cases. So when you create your usability test cases, you might need to consider about these points so that you can do an effective usability test. So the first one is the effectiveness of the system. So what do you need to cover under effectiveness? So basically, Is the system is easy to learn? Is the system is useful? Whether it is adding some value to your target audiences, and content, color, icons, images, those type of things used are like aesthetically pleasing, and whether those are approved in the regions you are planning to sell your product. So you have to think about these type of things under the the effectiveness. Next one is the efficiency. So what do you need to cover under efficiency? So basically, proper navigation should be required to reach the desired page. And also scroll bars should be used infrequently. And also consistency in the format of the pages in your application is needed, right? And also an important thing like option to search within your application. So basically a keyword search or a global search, whatever it is, when a user is trapped inside your application, he should have a way to like do a keyword search and get to whatever the page he wants and continue from there so that he is not confused anymore. Next one is accuracy. So what are the things you need to cover under accuracy? Basically, no outdated or incorrect data like contact information, addresses should be present. So I have also been personally experienced this recently. Like I wanted to find the location of a company and I was referring to their website, but actually they are showing an old location. So user is confused, right? Because the actual company is moved to somewhere else, but the website has not been updated. So it is not a good user experience. And no broken links should be present. So for example, let's take like inside a website, we usually show privacy policies, terms and conditions, service level agreements, right? So usually when you click on that, an external link or document will be open to the users, right? But in most of the time, in some websites, I have also personally seen that it is not working or a broken page will be displayed to the user. Because when implementing that, some people might think, okay, this is like the privacy policy. No one is going to read that. So we don't need to like show it. But actually, there are some people who read it. So basically, we have to think about all the thinking patterns of all types of users in our targeted audience rather than just thinking about the majority. So those are the things you need to cover under accuracy. Next one is user friendliness. So what are the things you need to cover under user friendliness? So basically system should be easy to understand, and if training or something is needed, you have to give a video or something inside your application so that users can self-learn. And browser consistency should be there. For example, if you're not supporting in IE browser, you have to, if a user tries to open your application in IE browser, you have to display a proper message. Okay, we are not supporting in IE. You have to direct to Chrome or something like that without giving a broken page. And also well-planned information architecture should be there for the user friendliness, and also good error handling capabilities. I have mentioned that earlier as well. We have to display our error messages and warnings in an effective manner. And also if you are targeting your application for mobile as well, you have to think of mobile compatibility as well. So basically, alignment with the above goals helps in effective usability testing. So if you can verify you have covered all these points in your application, you can determine your application as useful, findable, accessible, usable, and desirable. So let's check our next slide. Okay. Usability testing checklist. So whenever you are creating a usability test report, these are some key points you can keep in your mind. So first one is start the usability testing during the early stages of design and development. So basically starting it earlier will save you from a failure. And conduct usability testing on your competitor's product before you begin development. So basically, if you are going to a market which has a lot of competitors around, you have to do proper research on the competitor's product as well and see what are the things you can uniquely provide to your users other than just providing the same stuff where your competitors also have. So you have to do proper research on that. Next one is select the appropriate users to test the system. So usually the first usability test round might be happening inside the dev site, right? With the help of, UI engineers, QA engineers, software engineers, everyone. So this is not enough to check the proper user experience and the proper for a proper usability test. This is not enough. So basically you have to release a beta version of your product to actual targeted audiences. So basically, this audience can be whoever you are aiming your product at. Can be, experts, non-experts, technical users, non-technical users, whoever you are planning to release your product. So you have to do this beta test so that you can test it with more appropriate users and see how the actual user experience is. Next one is testers need to concentrate on critical and frequently used functionalities of the system. So what is this about? So basically you have to, testers need to actually test the critical and frequently used functionalities, whether those are working in a user-friendly and smooth manner to our audiences. Because if the critical and frequently used functionalities are not working in your application, users might definitely won't use your application and it will end up being a flop. So it is very important. Next one is, as I have mentioned few times, page navigations should be very clear to the user. Next one is track page weaves and track page load speed to measure user experience. So for example, think like you have this web page where there are a lot of photos and it is taking ages to load these photos. So is that a proper user experience? No, right? And also, for example, if you click on a button and another page is loading and that page load takes ages to display that proper page to the users. So those are not like proper user experiences, right? And also nowadays people want quick responses, right? They have a lot of work, so they want to, save time. So they are looking for quick responses. So basically, if you want your users to stick around and see what you have to offer, pages of your application should load very quickly. So the next fact is run a customer success survey to measure user experience. So if you are like going to the market entirely as a new product or maybe entirely new feature to your existing product, you have to do a customer success survey to see how the actual user experience is. So for example, you can send an email or something like that to get their reviews, ratings, feedbacks, such things, and see how the actual user experience was for them. So final point is lean on your customer service team. So this is an important one. So when a real-time user is having a trouble using your application, to whom do they turn to? Do they actually have a way to get some support? So basically it is important to have a proper support system or a help desk kind of a thing to provide support to the real-time users. And also this support system should send timely replies. Otherwise, customers will definitely get frustrated, right? So I think in real time also when using some applications, this has happened to most of us, right? So if it is taking like ages to get a reply, we will stop using that application and look for some alternatives. So then that product will be a flop at the end of the day. So we have to think about these things when creating our usability test reports. Okay, so let's check what do we have in the next slide. We have advantages and disadvantages. So what are the advantages of usability testing? So basically it helps to uncover usability issues before the product is released, which is a good one, right? And helps to improve end user satisfaction, and also makes your system highly effective and efficient, and also helps to gather true feedback from your target audience who actually using your system. So as I have mentioned, by arranging a beta test, you are more confident about your release, right? So you do not need to rely on opinions from random people because you have thoroughly tested it with your targeted audiences so that you can do the release confidently. So what are the disadvantages? So basically the main disadvantage is cost. Why? Because it takes lots of resources to set up a separate usability test lab, right? So recruiting and management of, committed usability testers can also be expensive. So what I have seen in most organizations, they use same QA engineers, same UI engineers, same software engineers to do more like a collaborative process on usability testing. That's how we do it as well. So using the same resources they have on this rather than hiring committed usability testers. So basically that's about advantages and disadvantages. Next up is usability testing tools. So actually in the market nowadays, there are a lot of usability testing tools available. So in my personal experience, I have been using the first two. So I will be telling a bit about those two to you all. First one is Crazy Egg. So if you want to measure user experience, this Crazy Egg tool has a valuable insight. They basically provide heat maps, which can tell you where people click the most and where they don't click at all, with snapshots, screen recordings, and everything. So, and also by using this tool, you can get some useful statistics on how your layout and designs are liked by your real-time users. So basically, at the end of the report, by looking at them, you can conclude whether your application is actually helping your users or hurting your users. And based on that, also you can do some improvements to your application in the next releases. So the next tool is Optimizely. It is actually a very good tool which provides a lot of services like A/B testing, website personalization, feature toggle capabilities, web content management, and a lot of other services. So when it comes to usability testing, you can use this tool to define A/B testing, which is very interesting. So basically, you can split your audience into A and B parts and define control group and a variant group using this tool. And you can direct your traffic into different audience percentages. So you can set up all these things using this tool. That's the importance of it. So for example, 40% of the audience will see one UI version and the other 60% will be seeing a different version with improvements or such. And then you can measure if one path offers more conversions than the other using this tool. So finally, if the A/B test is deemed successful, you can roll it out to the rest of the audience so that 100% of your audience will be seeing the most user-friendly UI. So it is a very good feature which Optimizely provides, for which you can use for usability testing. So you can do such experiments using these type of tools, which can be very useful, to grow your market and also to give a quality user-friendly product to your targeted audiences. But unfortunately, both of these tools I have mentioned just now are not for free. We have to pay for it. So I also don't have much exposure to the other tools which are mentioned here, but you all can do your own research and see which tool matches to your organization the most. And also the important thing is, you all can use these tools to save your time, right? You can replace the manual work by using this type of tools. So, and also you can do your usability tests in, effective manner by using all these statistics and A/B test results by using these tools. So basically that's about the tools. Okay, so finally I have added a small recap. So usability testing report is the key document to gain a deeper understanding of our audience's needs and frustrations. So whether it's for a website, mobile application, physical product, or anything, usability tests can help you discover product flows as well as areas of confusions and find ways to improve them. So basically, a better usability test will be delivering more value to your customers, and it will defend your business against the competition. So basically, this is like the high level summary of today's session. Okay, so I saw some questions.
Yep. So thank you, Gimhani, for that amazing discussion, first of all, and that amazing insight into usability testing. So with that, once again, we'll get into the Q&A session. So if you still haven't posted your questions, please do it now in the chat, and I'm sure Gimhani will be more than happy to respond to them. Over to you once again, Gimhani.
Yeah, thank you. So have you used any accessibility guidelines in your projects? If so, you can share any guidelines. Yes, we do. We have some accessibility guidelines in our projects, such as I have mentioned some of them already in my session. So we have a different document for that in our company. So basically, we are testing like effectiveness, user friendliness, those type of things. We have actually a set of guidelines. I'm not going to tell all of them here. So we use, yes. At which stage we should execute these usability test cases? Actually, from the beginning of the product development phase, at the beginning of it, we have to start the usability as well. We have to create the usability test cases from the beginning. Do we need to maintain a usability test suite and execute them in each release? Or is it enough to conduct the usability testing at once before releasing to end user? No, we have to do it like in each releases. If we are going with a entirely new feature, then we have to do it again. If we are going with the same UIs, we might not need to do it. Do usability testers need good knowledge of user experience design methodologies to carry out a good testing process? Indeed, yes. What does most effective tool that can be used? Actually, it depends on your organization. So you have to do proper research on all these tools available in the market and pick whatever the proper tool which can be used in your organization according to their needs. Is the LogRocket tool for a usability testing? I haven't heard of it, so I don't know the proper answer for that. Sorry. Any free tool to start with? Actually, the most of the usability testing tools available are not for free. I haven't came across a free tool yet, so maybe you guys can find. Okay, thank you. And are there any tools that can use for desktop application testing, not for the web applications? Okay, so we can use this Optimizely tool and also Crazy Egg for all the web applications, mobile applications. Mobile, I'm not sure Crazy Egg is working, but Optimizely, yeah, it does. Any suggestions for good sources to learn about usability testing? Actually, good sources. Okay, so there are some sites. Maybe I will share with the Colombo Quality Camp organizers so they can share with you all in next session. How should we focus on usability testing for users with disabilities, senior users? For users with disabilities. Okay, I'm not sure what the question means, so I'm going to skip that one. Can you name few tools to perform usability testing on mobile application? Yeah, you can use Optimizely. It supports mobile. Okay, so I think that's all about the questions.
Yes.
And sorry. Thanks so much for joining my session today, and hope you have learned some facts about usability testing. And please do join the other sessions as well. I have seen some amazing sessions are coming up. And I also want to thank the Colombo Quality Camp organizers for organizing this wonderful Quality Week. Amazing, guys. Thanks so much. So yeah, thanks again, and see you all soon.
Thanks once again, Gimhani, for the session, as well as for answering the questions that came in from our audiences. And I did see a couple more questions come up, but I'm pretty sure that Gimhani would be more than happy to answer them if you even add her up on LinkedIn and just answer.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we wind up, we once again encourage you to join in the upcoming sessions over the next few days. And tomorrow we have Danushka Ranganath speaking on transforming test organizations, building right fit teams, and Connor Fitzgerald speaking on 10 testing myths in an age of misinformation. So please do join with us tomorrow as well. And this concludes day 2 of Quality Week 2022. We are very grateful to our speakers, both Sachith Perera and Gimhani Perera, for joining us today and sharing their valuable insights that we can now practice in our day-to-day work life. And thank you all for joining in with us today. You have been a wonderful audience. Have a pleasant evening, everyone, and good night.